Okay, we're going to call our meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May the 26th at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're at the Public Works Building for our meeting, council meeting. And we're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to do the invocation followed by the dates.
Let us pray. O God and King of the nations, while yesterday was Memorial Day, our debt to the fallen still remains. May we always remember before you with grateful hearts the men and women of our armed forces, who in the day of decision ventured much for the liberties we now enjoy. Grant that we may not rest until all the people of this land share the benefits of true freedom and gladly accept its discipline. In this I pray in your most holy name, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're ready to take the roll.
Ms. Logan?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Fasagi?
Here.
Mrs. Hamilton? Here. Mayor Wolf?
Okay. All right, first to get started, we're going to go through the minutes, and we have minutes for the April the 28th, May the 8th, May the 12th. Have they been reviewed? Any questions or changes or anything? If not, are they accepted?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you. Good, good. First thing on the agenda is the amendment to the jetty contract. That'll be Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Your Honor. You may recall at the last meeting that we did approve the contract with GCUC at the new price of $4.33 million. After consultation with our engineers, they felt that it would be cleaner if we went ahead and approved the contract at the bid price that was actually bid on a few months ago, and then issue a change order to take up that $67,000 or $66,000 difference. So I would recommend to the City Council to go ahead and approve this contract with GCUC for $4.267436.
Okay, we're all good and open to the public. Any discussion from the public on the jetty? Go ahead and close the public, open discussion at the table. The only thing at the table I had was we've already approved moving forward on this, so we're just approving the original bid. And my understanding is FEMA allows a 20% increase, so we're going to use the change order to do that with, which will be the next item, right?
Correct.
So what we're approving is a 4.267.
Correct.
I read through it and had questions on the on a couple things. Well, not a question. I just want to note that there is an interest payment of 2.5 based on the payment schedule. I want to make sure, Mike, you're up on that we get payment properly in time. For right now, we don't have a schedule that I've seen within the contract. So I would assume that it'd be put together after.
Right.
Yeah. So when that does get together and payments are due, Mike, you'll need to be aware of that so that we pay it on time. The payments. The only other thing. I think that's all I had on the contract. Anybody have anything?
Did I see correctly that the city council approved
this 4.237 million amount last May. Did I see that correctly?
I believe that's true. Is that not?
That was the bid price back.
That was good price back
And
then.
it took 11 months for FEMA to obligate the money. Did I see that also? Do the math?
Yes, sir.
If you've done that math, that's probably proper.
I don't have a question, that's just, I want to make sure I did my math right.
Welcome to the government.
They call that government
They
efficiency.
sure did.
Yeah.
Well, not that I'm defending FEMA because I don't have a reason to, but part of the process was to do a benefit cost analysis to that increased amount to the 4.2. And that took a long time, not only engineers to do, but for FEMA to go ahead and process.
And it was an unusual situation with FEMA being shut down. and
Certainly, for the last 75 years, I get
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So you're saying, Mel, that there was activity so let's say, not counting the government shutdown since whenever that was, in February, at least in the previous 8 or 9 months, there was activity back and forth.
Exactly.
It took 9 months to do a study that should have taken 30 days.
All right. Anything else at the table, or the motion move forward on it?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended J contract with Gulf Coast Utility Contractors.
Do we need to specify?
Okay, you're gonna need a motion to approve
The amount.
the 4.267436.
So I will add for the amount of 4.267436.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Julie, take the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. The second thing on the agenda is the change order that would go along with that.
All right, the change order would be change order number 1, and that would be the change order to increase the pricing to 4.33373 and 33 cents. That is an increase of $66,296.33. That's only a 1.5% increase, so it's not nearly as bad as it could have been. FEMA does allow for increases up to 20%, so this change order should be okay in the eyes of FEMA. So if you look at it, even if FEMA were to say, no, all we're paying is the 4.267, and if they were to require the city to pay the 66,000, I would take that return on investment every day.
Hear you, hear you.
It's paying 66,000 for a $4.2 million project. You would have investors lining up for that deal. I don't anticipate that to be out of city coffers in the future, however, that should be a few approved projects. So I'll have on that, Your Honor.
Go ahead and open the public, any discussion on the change order? Moving it to the 4.3? The additional 66,000. Go ahead and close the public, move to the table. Any discussion at the table?
Is the reason we're splitting this just, I mean, I saw that our consultant recommends it just be a clean break between the two, but is another reason for this that just in case there's any holdup on the 66,000, we can at least proceed with construction once we get an NTP on the original 4.2 million? Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, the only other alternative to not do this is to go back to FEMA and say, no, it's gonna be 4.3. And we don't want to go through the process.
Yeah, and it's a good,
Right.
it's a good accounting record keeping too, because then we'll know what if there's more change orders, we're easier to track the 20% increase for fee.
Anything
And
else?
just for clarification, I think we already got the notice to proceed from FEMA, right?
The notice to proceed will come from us.
Well, yes, but I mean, they blessed it and said yes.
It's been obligated, yes,
Right.
yes, at the 4.2, correct.
So we can
Issue the notice to proceed.
one minute after this meeting, basically, right?
No, yeah, right after the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, the notice to proceed, of course, will be a few weeks out while the contractor is getting their bonds in line and that sort of thing. Once we get that done, we'll issue the notice to proceed. We'll have the pre-construction meeting get some of the details lined out.
I have a question.
Good.
I'm still curious, I asked this last week, but I'm still curious after going back over this. The boulders that are there, I'm wondering if we are just bringing in all new boulders, because I'm talking about the west jetty. The east jetty I know has to be built from basically nothing. But the west jetty, we've got an enormous amount of boulders that we paid for, and yet we're bringing in over $400,000 worth, and I'm just curious, are we not going to get to, are we just gonna make the boulders that are out there disappear and lose that, or are we going to use those boulders in addition to what we're bringing in?
I would say the latter.
The latter.
Okay.
Lisa, if you look in the documents, there's a chart of work, and if you read down through there, it says remove and replace. And
Okay.
most of the time that means take out and then
Okay.
put back.
Okay.
I'm sure they're gonna have to add material as
Yes,
well.
I expect that.
Yeah, it's an extension, so.
But they're not gonna throw away totally good rock.
Good, I asked that last week and didn't get a good answer. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this? Have a motion to move forward on it?
I make a motion that we approve the change order for the jetty contract, in the amount of $66,296.33.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Mrs. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Logan? Ms.
Yes.
Logan? Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Yeah, the next thing on the agenda is the 2026 assignments. We do this every year. Assignments are all on the back there. Go ahead and go through them. And basically, we just want to pick somebody to put in that spot that wants to fit there. I guess I'll just get and open it to this council table. And are there anybody that wants to pick and choose? I personally was on the military affair 2 years ago. I'd be more than glad to go back on again.
I'd be happy to do that if the mayor doesn't want to. I was a timber contractor for 4 years.
So obviously you see in there that I've been appointed to the CDC board.
Yes.
But I also had told the people at the estuary program that I would be willing to continue since there was no real conflict between the meeting dates of the two. But if there's another council person that would rather do estuary, I would graciously advocate that position if you feel so moved.
Remember, in all these positions, if we want to put 2 people, it's probably not the best thing to do, but we can do that. I can tell you one of the things that when I looked at this, I said to myself, what did we not do a good job at? And what we did not do a good job at is coming back and reporting. You know, so if we can improve on that by putting 2 people on, so be it. If we can improve on that, putting different people on it, so be it. But I think we need to make a request to the council. I mean, is it agreed that if we're on these committees, we need to make some type of report back?
Absolutely.
And Mayor, I would just support that decision. I would also say that whether we do it monthly or quarterly would probably be more appropriate.
Yeah, I think quarterly would be fun.
Just to make sure it stays on a regular meeting agenda, and the city administrator can pick what meeting. But you know, since we are discussing it, I mean, I'll just give the city and the people in the audience. The estuary program is currently obviously very much working on problems in both St. Joe and St. Andrews Bay with sedimentation and things like that. But specifically for us, they're working on possible solutions to improve aesthetics around the 8th Street Canal exit. And I should be able to report something back fundamentally on that in a month or so, I would think.
Mayor, to your point on if you put two people on there, in theory, you would have to notice that because they're gonna be discussing things that potentially could come back before the council. So you have to separately notice that where you have two council members on the same committee.
Okay, if that's the case.
If that were the case.
If we get to that case,
Yes,
let's
sir.
discuss that. I agree with that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna be a little selfish, I'm gonna tell you the way I look at this, okay? I've been with you guys for a while, we're somewhat of a team, I mean, I learned what you do and what you're best at doing, I think, from my opinion. I'm gonna give you what I like. Bay County Transportation Planning Organization, Eric, with your engineering background, I think that's a perfect place for you, and we haven't done a good job at looking at that. We have a very important thing in that area, and that's the path that they're trying to put through here. That's the Back Beach Road that we haven't looked into. These are all things that we've ignored that we need to really get up to date on, and I think you do a good job at that. I'm not saying do it, I'm saying that's my opinion and the reason why. League of Cities, I think with your background, Lisa, and news and everything else, and notes taking and stuff like that, I think Florida League of Cities would be a great place for you to land. I'd like to take the military side of it. I have a 9 years background in the military, and I've been on the board before and enjoyed it, so I'd like to do that. Sanctuary, I left that. I know, Steve, you had a request to do there, and I know that Linda had an interest to do that, so, and Linda, she's been involved with it
Well, the
before.
concern though would be what Tim was saying.
Well, and I'm perfectly willing to step back from that if you're willing to
Got
do it.
enough on your plate. Okay, I'll take it.
Well, the other one that's not sitting out there that we gotta vote on too, because it changes every time we make council, is Mayor Pro Tem. So think about that too. With that said, I would volunteer for the Military Affairs Committee. If anybody's okay with that, I'd make a motion to approve it. Or deny it. We'll have to vote on each one of these.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the mayor stay on the military affairs committee.
I'll second it.
Take a roll, please.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes,
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes, thank you. I can't make a motion, so I made my suggestion.
Okay, I will make a motion that that Ms. Hamilton be placed on the St. Andrews Bay Estuary Program Board.
I'll second.
A motion and second, take a roll, please.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
yes,
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that Ms. Logan be appointed to the Florida League of Cities Board.
Bay County.
Bay County League of Cities Board.
I'll second it.
A motion and second, take a roll, please.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes,
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Bay County Transportation Planning Organization.
I'll make a motion that we appoint, who was it?
Eric.
Eric to the Bay County Transportation Planning Organization.
I'll second it.
A motion and second, take a roll, please.
Mrs. Hamilton,
Yes,
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. Okay, thank you guys for doing that. We need to also do the Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah,
Is that just a given?
that's good, but we'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there a motion for Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll make a motion that Ms. Hamilton continue as Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Take a roll, please.
Mrs. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Did you vote for yourself, Linda?
Can I do that?
Okay, yes. Yes. Okay. 5-0. The only thing we have left, and it's a formality, I think, on the CDC, Mr. Attorney, even though we have a letter that puts Steve in place, we still want to vote that in, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion for CDC?
I'll make a motion that Steve Cox be appointed to the board of the Mexico Beach CDC.
Got a motion?
Second it?
Motion second, take roll, please.
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. All right, thank you all for doing that, I appreciate it. Again, let's do something different this year. Let's make this that we can come back and we can report, and I think quarterly is fine. I don't think it needs to be a monthly thing, but at least quarterly update. And anytime that you want to update faster than that, just go ahead and do it. But let's keep communications open. And keep talking at this table about the things that we see in these areas that could support Mexico Beach. Bay County transportation is a big deal, Eric, and we really need you to get into that.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate that. I'm a big proponent of both bypasses that are under consideration by the state and the county over the next 20 years. And then clearly, I think everyone on the council has a vested interest in the county right away along this path.
And getting the information is like pulling teeth. We don't get a lot of information and feedback, so stay connected and see what we can help you in doing that. League of Cities, there's a big opportunity there also for communication, Lisa, and I think you're doing a good job there. And I know that maybe we'll get some free plants, right?
Yeah.
Good
My
deal.
best.
And Steve, CDC is always close to home, so I'm sure you'll do a good job there.
Maybe if I could add, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to the transportation planning organization, there's also a technical committee involved with that. In other words, the same day that the main committee meets, the technical committee meets. That's comprised of engineers, public works directors, that sort of thing. Our appointee is Mr. Sam, and that's where a lot of the technical stuff comes about. When it gets to the level of Eric's committee, that's the main body of the whole thing. In other words, everything shovels to that group. But nonetheless, they meet at least 4 times a year, sometimes 6, but they've kind of loaded it down. The first meeting after your appointment is tomorrow. We do not expect you to attend. That is way too quick to do. I can't tell you what time it is off the top of my head. I know that the technical committee meets at 1:30.
11 o'clock tomorrow.
11
5
o'clock.
o'clock tomorrow.
So,
As soon as you find out, let me know, because I may have some time on my schedule.
okay. As soon as this meeting's over,
I need to talk to you after meeting anyway, so.
okay, it'll work out. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna, Steve, this may be a little bit surprise to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this here. I'm gonna have you go next, because I think that the part that we're gonna have the city administrator goes over could support that, rather than go him do that first. So if you're ready, we'll go ahead and move to that, which is discussion on the 37th Street.
So I started thinking about 37th Street, and well, I've been thinking about the city on a whole for a long time. But I guess just to go backwards, the city changed forever on October the 10th, 2018. It went from being an old Florida fishing village, it went from being Mayberry to what it is now, and what it's on the road to becoming. And there's nothing any of us at this table
any of the current or future or past property owners can do to make it go backwards. Having said that, I'm certainly an advocate of wanting to keep it as close to what we all know and love as we possibly can. And with now, I think we can all reasonably see that the pier is in the future. It's coming. And as part of that, when we had the pier dedication, I started to kind of, the wheels were turning. But on the east side of 37th Street, the city owns property. And there's nothing currently on that side of the street. And as I started reflecting on what we had before the hurricane and what we currently have in the, we'll call it the commercial infrastructure space, it's really woefully lacking compared to what's come back as far as residential. Yes, we have some positive things happening. We got Mr. Duran who's, investing in our community, and Toucans is getting closer to opening, but we're still woefully short when it comes to services for residents and tourists. So I think there's an opportunity, and I asked Mr. Sloan to do some homework, and I asked one of my computer literate friends to do some work. January's got a picture she can put up. I'm going to pass these around. This is just an AI generated concept of what 37th Street could look like. I just think it's time the city, and Mr. Sloan can obviously, he knows more about the legal intricacies of what are required here, to obviously change this from, I think that side of the street is currently part of the townhome district. But I think this could be both a win-win for the property owners on 37th who, let's be honest, right now they face a daunting task. If you want to go build a standalone townhome, it's going to be much more expensive than it would be to build pretty much a standalone residence. So we could find a way to create a partnership where the property owners could participate and have, if we had a mixed-use development, they could end up with a condominium, which most of those property owners are never going to be full-time residents anyway. And we could have a destination that's wonderful for those of us that live here 365 days a year. And it could benefit us and our food truck neighborhood, because most of those people that came to our meetings, on all the meetings we had on food trucks, said they would love to have brick and mortar, but the reality of it is they'll never be able to afford to build their own brick and mortar. This could provide a lease space potential and help get some of the food trucks into their own brick and mortar establishment. So with that, that's my presentation. It's just a concept. It could be 100 things different than this. But I think given what the pier is going to be and the fact the city does own some land as it, where the pier is going to be, it kind of makes sense. It could also encourage mayor and council the development of those commercial parcels that were commercial properties prior to the hurricane, the ones that now just sit vacant and, there's nothing really going on there, so.
Well, I appreciate what you've done, Steve, at least get us a starting point and start the conversation. I think that a lot of people at this table, there's been a lot of conversation about 37th Street being the Reed Street, basically. Kind of a repeat of that or something along that lines. The way it is not the way we want it to stay. There's no doubt. So taking the time to finding the right developers, seeing if we could purchase land.
Well, and Mayor, there again, I'm not a real estate professional, but I do know there's all sorts of opportunities for partnerships. I'm not advocating the city invest a nickel. What I'm saying, the city already owns 4 lots that did not cost the city a nickel. They were bought through a grant. And the grant, the period for any restricted use of that property is long since gone. I just think that we're in a position now where we can do some things in the economic development realm that it's not gonna change who we are, it's gonna make who we are better. And it's gonna give people, most of us that live here, an opportunity to use it 9-10 months out of the year. And then, yeah, when the tourists are here, they're gonna be the ones spending most of the money. But once that pier, the pier's gonna be a destination. It was a destination before. So let's create an environment that brings people to it. That when they come to the pier, they have things to do. And I think we can do that without spending taxpayer money. I think it could all be done through private investment. So.
I think Mel will talk a little bit about that when we get to his side of it, but I don't think you're far off, Steve, from what you're saying. I believe that everybody at this table probably wants to see more than what's going on 37th Street. The pier has to be built. There's a lot of properties there that are just sitting there that are 17 by 100. It's condo after condo after condo, one next to the other. So that all has to be sorted out. We have property on 14th Street. We can sell and buy more property. I mean, we can go to a developer and have him buy the property off of other people. You know, just kind of get something started, I think.
That was the purpose of this discussion is we're now at the end of the road with what I call FEMA and the hurricane recovery. You know, we got really 2 open-ended things. I'm gonna say the jetty is more or less in motion now. The pier, I'm trusting in the man upstairs that it will get started this year. And so the reason I think it's important we start some sort of a plan for this is because, yes, we know we've got, at this point, 18 months of construction on the pier. And it's gonna take a period of time to get any kind of development plan for that parcel of property. But we all know that, heck, I used to go to the pier. You know, I used the commercial businesses. I went to Tommy T's. And people will do it again. So.
Any other input?
Just a couple I totally agree that we need to have a vision that we all strive for. And this is a good starting point. I think we're all in agreement we want to do not only something for 37th Street, but do the right thing. A couple clarifying questions. Does it, I guess, picture number 4 with all the parcels 1 through 15, does that represent 4 lots that the city owns, or do we only own a portion of what we see on picture number 4, lots 1 through 15? I'm just curious.
If it's on the left-hand side, it's obviously involved with, because it goes from one end to the other, and so it would involve our lots.
It would involve ours, yes.
But I mean, do we own all those lots that I see in that?
No.
So we own 4.
We own 4.
Okay.
And you know, the other thing, and there again, Greg's sitting over here, he can speak to this. Some of this property is obviously inside the CCL, and some of it is outside the CCL, which dictates what you can and can't do, and permitting, and there again, I don't want us as a council to get bogged down in the intricacies of it. I just would like for us to use this conversation and engage the public going forward. And we need to talk to developers, people that do this stuff. You know, none of us at this table understand what's involved, really, with this kind of a development. But there are professionals that do it day in, day out. And you know, yes, there's gonna come, we'd have to do some studies. You know, we gotta find out what our water and sewer and power capacities are up and down that street. So there's work to be done. I just want us to start the work now with the vision that we've got 18 months to come up with a final plan and a partner, because I don't believe the city should really we should guide this development. We shouldn't be responsible for the development. We need professionals doing it.
Yeah, well, and the work needs to start in the next couple of months, because it's about budget season.
Right,
So
right.
The next year's worth of work is going to be planned.
Right.
So I think we need to start thinking about not only what we want that to look like in, I don't know, I'll make up a number, 5 years, but what we have, we have a lot of planning to do in the next 18 months, but we need to start funding that now.
Because the planning will cost some money.
But one of the things to do is, how do you get a developer investment? I think that Mel could help a little bit about the incentives that we've looked at. Go ahead and discuss if we can. Ready to move on to the next one?
Before we go to Mel, let me say, I totally agree that with everything you've said, 37th Street has long been this same question for city councils. It's been discussed several times over the years when major developments like the hurricane give us pause. Nothing has ever come of it. If we could do it, that would be great. It makes perfect sense that that is more the business center of the town. But you also hit it on the head just a minute ago when you said we should guide this development. This must stay under city planning or the city's plan.
Yeah, height restrictions, everything.
It must be what the city and the citizens want, not what a developer comes in and says, oh, I want to build this. We've got to keep.
That's why you get a developer that agrees with all the tax relief that we're gonna give him and everything else. And so they're gonna go by what we want done in the city, but we're gonna have to give them some leeway to build and make money.
I understand that, but I also want to reiterate that this is what the city and the citizens want. So as long as we stick to that, I'm all for it.
I think, there again, this is AI generated.
Yeah,
I think, there again, developers, we need to engage their creativity. As to aesthetics. You can look around at what the West End, in fact, I was just thinking about walking in City Hall this morning, the photographs hanging right there, the aerial from 2008. Most people don't realize we didn't even have a boat ramp on where it is now. In 2008, it was not there, and what the aerial today would look like compared to that. We've got a whole lot of issues that this council's got to deal with. And obviously guiding any future plan for this part of town would be a huge responsibility. I just think that this is a starting point for the discussion, that's all it is.
yes.
And then,
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is, I don't want it to be another Windmark. That's the first thing that comes to mind from this area for me. So as long as we control it, and it's what we want, I think it's a great idea.
We're only gonna control it by what we have to offer. And what the best deal that we put together with a developer that agrees to the incentives that we're giving them, and then we'll watch their plans, and we'll agree with their plans as we go forward.
Well, so I agree with both of you. I think we're in violent agreement. To put, I guess, a little bit more proximate, finer point on some of Ms. Logan's concerns, which I think are real. At last week's P&Z meeting, right, they're in the middle of doing a LDR rewrite, and there's last week's meeting had to do with a topic that's been brought up a couple of times, and that's trees, right? And so what do we have? We have single-family homes being built on the west end of town with a PUD that did not require trees. Nobody seems to remember how that got put into place, but nevertheless, here we are, we have a PUD with no tree requirements in it. And that's it. I think that's a perfect example of something we want to avoid. Yeah. So long as everything comes to the city, and if the developer asks for a PUD, We may or may not decide to grant one, but if we do, it's gonna be something that we want.
Yes.
For example, we're gonna require trees. I can almost guarantee, we want trees, right? We also.
Yes.
You notice there are trees in there, right?
All right. So if we're good with that, let's go ahead and move on to how do we move forward? What's the best approach to take? Go ahead.
Is it appropriate for Mel to speak first, or?
That's exactly what I'm gonna introduce right now. Yeah, that's where I was going. I said, let's find out what type of things that we need to do to attract some developers and having these conversations.
Well, Mexico Beach, as you know, traditionally has not been in the economic development game insofar as giving incentives. Most of the time, economic development has to do with industrial and manufacturing projects, and that sort of thing does not fit our vision or mission here in Mexico Beach. We don't have the room for that sort of thing, or the stomach for it, to be honest. But when you do entice those type of construction projects, you know, that drives other investment on the private level. But that all being said, some of the incentives that we could give are property tax abatements, sales tax refunds or exemptions, impact fee reductions or deferrals, grants for business expansion, low interest loans, public infrastructure investment, customized workforce training grants, on-the-job training reimbursements, discounted industrial land or buildings, enterprise zones, opportunity zone benefits, fast-track permitting, fee waivers, community enhancements, utility incentives. And going back to the community enhancements, because one of the most important things that we can do is to make ourselves attractive to other development. And I think Mexico Beach has come a long way in the past few years of doing that, and we continue and strive to do that. And that will just make us more attractive. Tax increment financing or community redevelopment agency funds. In my opinion, this would help drive a public-private partnership type situation on 37th Street. And the way tax increment financing works is that the city determines an area that needs development or redevelopment. It's common to use the but-for test. In other words, would this development occur but for the funds from the TIF district? The value of the property is determined on a fixed date and frozen during the life of the TIF district, which could be 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. All the taxing entities continue to receive the taxes for the life of the TIF district based on the initial valuation. As development occurs, the TIF district captures the increased taxes due to the valuation increase. In Florida, the CRA, which is the Community Redevelopment Agency, establishes a trust fund to receive the tax increment and may issue revenue bonds for infrastructure improvements or enter into contracts with developers. And that's just a quick and dirty summary of how that TIF district works. I did also include a sheet of just for a 10-year type estimate what a TIF district could possibly get. And of course, these are just for examples. You know, before we would approve a TIF district, we would have a lot more information on what would be built, what kind of valuation increases might have over time, and that would give us a little better snapshot of how to approve this sort of thing. But keep in mind, normally school districts hate TIF districts because they live off that tax revenue. So we have to take that into consideration as well. But I did include one little thing that I thought was very interesting now when it came to our 2025 tax breakdown. When it comes to those who take the most taxes out of our citizens' pockets, Bay County's number 1, the school district's number 2, and we're number 3. So keep that in mind when you go through the budget this summer. Ready for questions, Your Honor?
One of the ones that I've asked you already, Mel, is, and maybe just clarify with council, is what's the next step? Is this, do we basically publicize this and say that this is an interest that we have, or we're willing to look at developers, talk with developers? How do we,
Well,
from there?
one of the ways we could move this forward is to agree that this is something that we want to do, and then try to develop some sort of preliminary paperwork with the help of Mr. Sloan, of course, about this particular area, and then publicly advertise this to try to get investors and developers to come to the table. We could even do it as a bid type situation, you know, where we could put it on Demand Star and look out for investments and developers and that sort of thing. But that would probably be the first step. Mr. Sloan has some ideas as well
Demand Star is a platform.
for bidding and that sort of thing. Yeah.
I have a thought too, Mel, like how could we attract local developers? I'm thinking in terms of like, you know, George Duran, Jay Risch, people that we know that know the area and what we want for our area, rather than, you know, such a broad spectrum of developers, people that may not understand our area.
We could definitely contact them first
Yeah,
and let them know that we're in the process of thinking this through, and any help they might get would be much appreciated.
okay. Just a thought.
Mayor, can I?
Yes, sir.
Couple of things. You're talking about really two different avenues. One that Mr. Cox was talking about from a public-private partnership type arrangement, and then one where you're setting up a CRA. I've set up 3 CRAs over the course of time, which were argued in front of the Florida Supreme Court, and the bonds were validated, so they were upheld. That is a specialized area of the law, and if it ends up that that's the side that you all want to pursue, then I would certainly consult with a couple of the folks that helped create the CRAs. You have to have a study on a CRA. You have to show blight, and blight sounds bad in the context of what people normally think of blight, but blight from the standpoint of a CRA could be transportation blight, could be some other kind of blight. The legislature has attempted over the last couple of years at least to minimize and perhaps prevent local CRAs from being created. Because the county and the school boards do not like it. When I created 2 at Cedar Grove in 2006 or 7, and 1 in Parker, we had to have a study. You had to show blight. We actually had the county sued the individual cities over whether or not there was blight, contesting the CRAs. We actually got in a bus in Parker's situation with the judge, a little short bus, and drove around Parker for the judge to look at whether or not, from an evidentiary standpoint, she believed that there was blight as it's termed in the statute. And so you have to be able to show blight is the bottom line, a legal term of blight. That's a financing arm that typically is done by the city and how the city finances. The TIF, as Mel pointed out, is you lock in your property values within the community redevelopment area as of whatever date you get the CRA approved, and then as the property values escalate and the taxes go with it, the TIF, which is the tax increment financing, then stays with the city. So that's why the county typically and the school boards typically don't like it, because they want to get that TIF money and be able to spread it throughout the county at their direction, as opposed to what the city keeping it within the city. But let me talk about, if I could, Mayor, just a couple of things about the grant that provided the money to Mexico Beach to purchase the property. The information I got from Mel was that the city had a $500,000 grant, took $465,000. And in that grant, in paragraph Q, one of the requirements, and it's a little nebulous, so I'd want to get clarification from DEO, but it says upon expiration date of the agreement, which is probably roughly the end of March of 2001, it says grantor shall be authorized to retain ownership of the improvements to the real property set forth in this agreement according to the following. Grantee is authorized to retain ownership of the improvements to the real property so long as grantee is not sold, merged, or acquired. The real property subject to the improvements is owned by the grantee, and then it goes on, and then it talks about they actually have a security interest in the land for that 5-year period. It's not exactly clear that after the 5 years that part of it goes away, so I'd want to get clarification. The second part is that there is an attachment to the grant that says what the funds are going to be used for. Now, again, after the 5 years, I don't know that there's a clawback from the state, so I want to get clarification before we got too far down the road. But it says the funds will be used for the purchase of the property for economic development by the grantee at the base of the pier in order to provide the following services. 1, city-owned retail/bait shop to service the city's public fishing pier. 2, educational/informational kiosk and employment of a city parks employee to provide educational sessions/materials to the community, visitors, and local Bay/Gulf County school groups. 3, a restaurant space. And 4, landscape areas, pedestrian/bicycle access, and reconfigured parking lanes. That's, again, what they're saying the grant was for, and whether at the end of the 5 years that terminates is something I'd want to get clarification on. That being said, the statute that deals with the public-private partnerships, if the private entity were going to put in the money, and the city, for instance, was not going to create a CRA, which, by the way, creating a CRA for 4 lots is not what you want to do. If you're going to create a CRA, it needs to be a big area that's blinded by definition. But that being the case, section 255.065 of the Florida statutes defines what you can do as far as a public-private partnership. And a qualifying project means a facility or project that serves a public purpose, including, but not limited to, any ferry or mass transit facility, vehicle parking facility, airport or seaport facility, rail facility or project, fuel supply facility, oil or gas pipeline, medical or nursing care facility, recreational facility, sports or cultural facility, or educational facility, or other building or facility that is used or will be used by a public educational institution, or any other public facility or infrastructure that is used or will be used by the public at large in support of an accepted public purpose or activity. That's number 1. Number 2, an improvement including equipment of a building that will be principally used as a public entity, used by a public entity or the public at large that supports a service delivery system in the public sector. Number 3, a water, wastewater, or surface water management facility or other related infrastructure. As of July 1st, they're adding a new section called a coastal resiliency project is now, or will be included as of July the 1st. And then the 5th element as of July the 1st for a qualifying project will be notwithstanding any other provisions of this section for projects that involve a facility owned or operated by the governing board of a county, district, or municipal hospital or healthcare system for projects that involve a facility owned or operated by a municipal electric utility, only those projects that the governing board designates as a qualifying project under this section. So you're limited, if you're gonna go public-private, to those elements as a qualifying project. And the city would have to do studies, as you've heard. But the first thing I would recommend is that we get clarification from the state of Florida, DEO, to confirm that after that 5 years, those restrictions on the grant are no longer applicable. Then,
So does it restrict us from sale?
it certainly says that, and then it talks about the 5-year period. So I don't know if the 5 years is the total limitation on the sale.
Right.
It's just not clear in there.
Okay.
So,
To my point, and what I said earlier, and I think I've said it twice, I'm gonna say it a third time. The city needs to guide what happens on 37th Street. We don't need to be involved. I don't really like the idea of either of those scenarios. I don't like, number one, I think, using your term, a blighted area, I think we'd have a hard time proving that, and I'm not an attorney, and you've obviously won those cases. That's number one. Number two, the partnership idea, just based on what the Florida statute says, does not seem to be, we don't have an appetite for that either. But what we do have an appetite for, and I believe, because we're outside that 5-year window, is I believe we could attractively offer our property to the right developer under our guidance to then say, we're approving your mini PUD for this development, and we're gonna contribute this land as our good faith, because, you know, that land is gold to a developer, and then let them run with it on the private sector side. The government's only good at very few things, and military is one of them, but even that, they waste a ton of money. So I'm advocating that we as a city guide it, govern the regulations that it operates under. But I don't think either one of these scenarios fits Mexico Beach. Mexico Beach is not Parker. Mexico Beach is not Cedar Grove. And to drive a judge around in a little minibus through 37th Street, they're gonna say, yeah, you live in a beautiful place. And I don't think the light fits. Now, if it had been October the 11th, 2018, we might have.
you might have missed your window. Let me
Yeah.
just
Might
say
have.
that.
So that was my question, is it too late for us to make the case of blight because we're a post-hurricane disaster recovery?
This is a long process. I'm here for Mr. Sloan to do this. You're talking about could be years of legal rampage.
Well, I don't know. It's probably a 2-year total from the time, if you're gonna do a CRA, it's probably 2 years from the time you start thinking about engaging a firm to do the study to determine if there's legal definition of blight. And then you have to have ordinances, and then what you do is you bond at that point. And you bond it because that's what raises the issue to the court to determine whether or not the underlying CRA was created in accordance with the law. Okay? Because otherwise, you couldn't validate the bond. So you're asking the court to validate the bonds, but implicit in that validation is the court would have to say, yeah, the CRA is appropriately created. So that process is probably a 2-year process. The finding out, I think my recommendation is the first thing you do, let's confirm with DEO that the 5 years is all that they're worried about and that there's no clawback after 5 years for if you wanted to sell the property. Okay. And then, and also find out to make sure that that limitation on what you're doing on the property also has expired and that they're not clawing back any money. Once that's confirmed, and if it is confirmed that the city has no further restriction on that, then the city can decide either It's going to look at a public-private partnership. I agree with you that your townhouse definition probably doesn't fit. Or the city could look at selling that property with restrictions. The city could determine what those restrictions are. And the city could sell the property. It'd have to get some appraisals to verify the value and that sort of thing. So.
We need to know what the grant.
Yeah, that's the first step, Mayor.
That's all we need to know.
That's, I think, the seminal question, and then once that's determined, then you can figure out where you want to go.
Yeah, we may want to use the property as a tool, to go take the next step.
Well, and to Ms. Hamilton's point, there are a lot of local professional developers that know our area.
Sure.
And for the property owners on that side of the street that aren't the city of Mexico Beach, it could be a very attractive arrangement for them as well, because, I'm sure that the reason they hadn't built a townhome back there is because it doesn't make financial sense, given the scenario. But there might be a scenario where if a developer came in and said, look, I know, and I'm not a real estate person, but if your property is worth X, your piece of dirt, that little, what'd you say, 17 by 100 is worth X, and it's gonna cost you $450,000 on top of that cost of that dirt to put a townhome up. Well, the reason they hadn't put the townhome back 8 years later is because it doesn't make financial sense. And we don't wanna go through another 8 years with 37th Street looking the way it looks.
Let's, how about we do this? We all know we have an appetite to do something with 37th Street. Is that agreed? Okay. The best thing to do is get more information. Let's find out what's going on with the grant.
Yes, sir.
What's the time limitation on it, and what we can do. I think city administrator needs to do some work as far as how do we publicize going forward, or how do we put out an ad that we want to do something and attract people. I think we're 30 days away from having a workshop, probably. These guys have some work to do, so to say, let's do it next week is ridiculous. Could we agree that we will set a date within the next 30 days to meet again to discuss this with additional information?
Yeah.
City attorney, you good with that?
Yes, sir. That is
Mr.
just
Miller?
a fairly short conversation with DEO in writing.
Short and right.
All right. Okay, so that's where we'll move on from here. Great conversation. I think one well needed and one we need to pursue, so good job. With that said, we're gonna move to citizens' comments. Come to the podium.
Next minute, excuse me. First and foremost, when I pulled up here, I could not find a handicap parking spot anywhere. And I'm handicapped right now. I had major surgery on my back, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that ever comes down here who's handicapped. So I'd appreciate if y'all would address that issue and get some handicap parking, unless I missed the
Well, let's
sticker.
get you seated within 3 minutes. What do you got, Gary?
Sir?
Let's get you seated within 3 minutes.
Well, I've got 3 minutes. Okay. All of y'all are just like me. You live here in the city. About 5 months ago, I started noticing a pink ring in my pool. And when I rebuilt my home, the gentleman who rebuilt it put me a big filter in there to filter all my water. And my filter was totally pink. I called the gentleman from the water department out. He looked at it and was familiar with it. He said, what I'll do is flush your street, but that could get very expensive for the city. My point being, this is the filter that I put in every time. This is a filter I took out yesterday, and it's not near as bad as it's been being. As you can see, after I kept it out of the water for a while, the pinkness left. My point being, we're all ingesting, everybody in this room, our children, people who visit us, the people who come to visit Mexico Beach, whatever this is in our water. And this needs to be corrected, because I don't know how harmful it is to me or to y'all or to anybody else. Most people are not aware that they're having this problem, because the average person, nobody on my street has a filter in their water system. So I would like for the city, and the gentleman that I think can tell you what it is, but I don't like taking ingesting stuff in my body that I'm not aware of what it is. And number two, people, my friends say, well, I stopped drinking the water. Well, that sounds good, but when you take a shower, when you eat anything, you're using this water. So we're all taking it in, and it could be harmful to us later on in life. So I would hope that y'all would address it, find out what the problem is, correct it, because we've never had this problem. I've been here 28 years. And in 28 years, I've never had a problem with my water. That was one thing I could say about Mexico Beach. We always had good, clean water, but we've got a problem now. So, at any rate, that was the main reason I came to see y'all. So,
We'll have our Garrett take a look at that, and we'll also get the city administrator involved in that. You'll verify that we meet those qualities.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna, Gary, I had the same problem. My house is 3 years old. And after we've been in for about a year, I've started noticing it in the toilet. And the dog has a stainless steel bowl, the same pink. So I asked Garrett about it, and he told me at the time what the chemical was. So I started doing the research, and I went to the expense of a $300 private water test. And what I found was our water is really pretty good. It's not heavy in minerals. It's not, the chlorine is in balance. But what we do have is a ton of what they call disinfectant byproducts. And to your point, we don't know the long-term health effects of ingesting those disinfectant byproducts. And I think Garrett could speak more to it than I can, because he's a professional water guy. But what I did is I put a whole house system on and eliminated the problem. That takes all those disinfectant byproducts out of the water. And I think the reason, Garrett, the water, because it travels so far, they treat it in Bay County. Then when it gets here, we have to treat it again because of the time it's spent in pipes and whatnot. And like for you or me, I live on a street, I'm the only full-time resident. So there's not enough water coming through that pipe, and so it can build up in there. But that's what I did at my own expense.
Well, I mean, that's good to know, but still, the problem exists that none of us knows how it's going to affect us. Well, each of us bodies is so different. And the things the medications, I take 12 medications. How's it going to affect my medications? Does it interact with any of it? Is it creating me more health problems? And the city needs to resolve it, because the majority of the people in the city are not aware of what they're drinking. And I want my water good and clean. My grandkids come down. I've never experienced anything like this before, and I would hope it can be resolved. That's the reason I brought it to y'all, so y'all could address the issue.
We'll make sure that we're meeting the requirements that we have to meet.
All right, well, somebody let me know. I'd like to see something in writing to that effect, because
I'm certain we have. No, we're good. We're good. Thank you.
well, thank you very much. I appreciate y'all's time. And that handicap parking sticker would certainly be nice for other people. Thank you.
All right, Gary. Any other comments? Citizen comments?
Good morning.
Morning.
try to get through. We're all, like I say, about crying. And if I cry, y'all just gonna have to overlook me. Before I might run over 3 minutes, and I'm sorry if I do. I hope y'all will allow me to finish. I think what y'all are looking at possibly doing down at the pier would be great. I think we lose a lot of money to people wanting to put a business in Reed in Port St. Joe. I know I've had friends personally that want to open boutiques and said Mexico Beach would be great, but there's really nowhere to put one. And if you do put one, it's a standalone thing, so you might not, you're just going to get hit and miss traffic. So I think it would be great. I'd love to go down there and sit and eat a sandwich or a piece of pizza or a bowl of, well, I don't eat ice cream, but anyway, somebody does. And then go on the pier when it's there. I think it would be a great spot to answer somebody's question about lots in CCL. There are only 2 lots down there at the end. I have one for sale, that's why I really know about that. The very end lot is a double lot. It was combined, I think, sometime after the hurricane. And then the next lot, that lot is in the CCL. And other than that, the rest of them are just...
Is that on the east side or west side?
That's on the seaward side. So if you were looking at that thing that Steve handed out to you, the very end closest to the pier, that's gonna be like where that green space looks to be, like right in here. That's where this down here is where the CCL line runs, somewhere right in there. But I think it would be a great thing for our town. I'm glad to hear that all of y'all are supporting it and would like to see something like that. Now I'll go to the reason why I'm here. I want to tell everybody, I just want to say thank you. Last week our town came together to honor Mr. Al. And none of that would have happened the way it did without the people behind the scenes. To the City of Mexico Beach, the city staff, especially our public works crew, Sam, y'all were so good. And I know I was in a tizzy because I was just so scared that we wouldn't have time to get everything done like he wanted it. And Miss Carol. From the step up and the cleanup and everything in between, you all worked so hard and did so much more than what was required. It did not go unnoticed by me or that family. Tammy's not here, but Tammy, I want to say thank you for all your help throughout the whole process. She stepped in. She was over there with me, with the family and everything, and it meant a lot to them. And she helped carry things that many people never even saw. And when the time came to pray, she has a way of speaking from her heart, and it reaches people and it stays with them. And I want to tell her thank you. I also know all the ladies, and Julie and Vanessa and Andrea and all of them. I know they had to step in and answer calls and make posts and help Tammy, because Tammy was down there trying to help me. And so it really took our entire town to pull off what we did. I also want to thank our firefighters for displaying the giant American flag. It was a powerful sight and a fitting tribute. To Marty and all the Sheriff's Department guys, I want to say thank you for handling all the traffic, the logistics, and helping with everything run smoothly. Marty, I know I can be a little bossy, but you still put up with me and never backed up and didn't put me in handcuffs, not one time. So I want to say thank you. I also want to thank the citizens that showed up and helped without hesitation. Jerry Smith, Carter Dorsch, Jason Adams, they all, every phone call I made, they answered and they never told me no. I know there were many others of you that, if I sat here and I tried to name every one of you, I would inevitably leave somebody out. But please know your kindness and willingness to serve matter to all of us. While our city lost a former mayor and leader, we also lost someone who truly loved this town. And even during the times when Mexico Beach might have not have loved him back, Mr. Al never stopped loving it. He never gave up. He put his head down and he kept moving forward because that's what you do when you believe you've been tasked to guard the gates. He did the same thing with that disease. He just put his head down and kept plowing through. His commitment to protecting this town and serving its people and preserving what makes Mexico Beach special is a part of his legacy. My hope is that spirit and that love continue to live on for generations. I also want to thank the previous council members who voted to dedicate that pier in Mr. Al's honor. That decision ensures that future generations will know his name, remember his service, and understand the deep love he and his family have for this community. Lastly, I think the best way we can all honor Mr. Al's legacy is simple. Continue guarding our gates, protect the town that is so special, and love Mexico Beach as fiercely as he did. I know I said lastly, but I have one more thing. I don't know who I've been asked, the family is asked. I don't know who made the flyover happen, or if it was just the pilots on their way in and saw the flag and saw the tents and knew that that was his service. But it was a very powerful moment, and it happened at the most perfect time. And the second pilot, whenever he turned and hit his afterburners, it shook everybody there, and he did it right in front of the pier. And if you couldn't see it under the tent, it was something really special. But I just want to tell y'all all thank you.
Julie, thank you for all you're doing and thanks to organize and put together. Any other citizens' comments? Good and closed citizens' comments, staff comments, city administrator.
Thanks, Your Honor. I'll be brief in that. The only thing I need to bring up is that when it comes to memorial benches, you know, we have 2 that were placed in the past year. We have applications for 2 more on my desk right now. And have no great heartburn with them. It's just how many memorial benches do we need in the city? You know, are we gonna have one on every block? Not every property owner likes a bench in their front yard. So I think it'd be prudent for us to bring back the policy that we enacted a couple of years back, take another look at it to see if there's any changes that need to be made. So in the meantime, I'll dust that off and send it to you all the next couple of days so you have a chance to look at it, to discuss it at the next meeting. So what I have, Your Honor.
That won't hold up the ones that we have. We'll be able to get those approved.
Right.
Okay.
I was thinking now, like the benches that the city put up a few years ago, how are those holding up? Are they kind of deteriorating that they could be replaced with the memorial benches?
Well, it's something we can have Public Works assess
Okay.
to see what condition they're in. That's part of the policy anyway, is to constantly look at them and see if they're improving.
That's a good point. Mr. City Attorney.
The only thing I bring to the council's attention is at the next meeting, the Sunstop annexation, land use and zoning will be before you. It's going to go to the E&Z board at their meeting before you all meet next time. So that'll be here. And I'll report back to Mel after I talk to DEO on that grant.
There's nothing to be approved there. It is just a step there. The procedure's already been laid out.
Oh, yes, sir. It's just the formality of getting it done.
All right, department head then? It's all good. Jerry, you have anything? No? Good?
I do. I just wanted to report the audits in progress. We did have a little snafu where the lead auditor had to take a leave of absence, but James Moore filled in with the new auditor and we've caught them up. And I actually have a call tomorrow with them as to start our finalization and closure process on it. Second thing is with new council member, with the bank information, I will be getting new signatory papers. Every time they change a council member, everybody has to sign it again. So I'll be sending y'all an email to come back in and give me your John Henry so everybody's eligible for signature.
On 40 different.
45.
But that's required every time we change council, so.
And that can't happen electronically, like with DocuSign, or we have to come in?
You got to come in.
All right,
I
Council.
can't ask them, since they do have all your emails, I can't ask them if we can do it via DocuSign. I will ask them that. I'll send that.
That'd be a lot easier.
I like seeing y'all in my office, so come on.
Okay, council comments, anybody?
I was just gonna say regarding Alice Memorial Service, there was probably over 500 people that attended that. Because I think that there was like 325 spaces under the tent and there were people all around it. And when they had that flyover, everybody just had goosebumps. It was just pretty remarkable and very spiritual. I think the family really appreciated all of those who were able to attend from all over.
Absolutely.
It's really neat.
I just have one question. It's probably for Mel and probably for Lieutenant Williams. There's going to be a July 4th golf cart parade at Veterans Park in St. Joe Beach, and they've asked me if there's a permit process for them to extend the golf cart parade into Mexico Beach. Do we have a permit that we can let them do that?
They've all got to be registered with the city also.
Every single golf cart, or can they do it like in one little mass?
That's gonna be up to the council and everything if they wanna do it. But it's a permit, it has to be done. They did it a year or so ago and, they did not ask or do anything, they just brought it through town.
I remember, yeah. So they want to do the right thing this year, so.
Who is this?
It's a golf cart parade at Veterans Park.
Where do they come from? Do they come from?
They'll come from Veterans Park, they do a little golf cart drive through St. Joe Beach, and then they like to come into Mexico Beach if it's allowed, because the folks at that end of town love to be part of the golf cart parade, just like they like to see it at Christmas, right?
You probably should get the contact to city administrator, let him speak with the lieutenant, see if they can put that together if it's needed.
Yeah, they were also shooting water guns at each other while driving down the roadway and stuff like that, so.
But remember that during all your decisions, so.
And all I'll say is the shooting of the golf cart squirt guns and the hoses from the residents, that's a feature, not a bug. They actually enjoy that. So.
Well, it's 95 degrees, of course they do.
Yeah, right.
I have something.
All right, go ahead.
Let's switch from golf carts to rats. I would like to know what the city does when someone has reported to me an infestation of rats on Oleander. And I don't have all the information yet because the call came in last night. But the rats have gotten so brazen that they run across in front of several large dogs as they're walking the dogs down the street. And it's coming from a specific overgrown lot. I do not know if that lot has been ever developed or it's just a wild lot. But I don't know how the city handles that. And I'd like to try to find out. What do we do when somebody reports there's so many rats that it's a problem?
What we don't do is ignore it, so we need to investigate it.
Okay.
I can't see this troop of rats running out of one lot. It's kind of amazing me, so it might be a little bit, we
Yeah,
have to look into it. But,
Okay.
I mean, get the address to the city administrator.
Okay.
And we'll see if it's something that we could ask to be mowed or something that, that could be looked at, absolutely.
thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just got one thing. A few meetings back, I don't know if this ever actually came up, maybe it did come up at a meeting, but we were approached by Gulf County asking for our support, and I think you actually signed a letter to support their efforts to pressure the legislature on our Back Beach Road on behalf of our Back Beach Road. I know since that happened, we now have our own lobbyist, and I've had this discussion with the city administrator. I think it would be prudent to give him direction, and I'd like, obviously, you to participate, to put together a meeting between all interested parties, meaning Mexico Beach, Gulf County leadership, and the St. Joe Company, to try to double down on our efforts to pressure the legislature on behalf, because that's where we'll get action on the Back Beach Road. It's not going to DOT, and I'm glad Eric's on the committee he's on, and actually getting Bay County involved as well. Those of us that live here and have lived here for a while, if the traffic does what it's done again in the next 5 years, we can't wait 5 years to get that road in. I mean, and with all the plans, believe what you want to from public conversation, but obviously there's some serious interest in getting that dry dock in St. Joe. They're looking at building now their own airport. The forecast from the state of Florida is their full-time population in Gulf County is going up 40% by 2035. And that may not seem like a lot, but when you couple that with a forecast that by 2035 there's going to be 2.6 million visitors a year to Gulf County, they're all going to come through here, or a large number of them are. So we really have to coordinate an effort to do whatever we can to get this Back Beach Road at the front of Tallahassee's radar.
Yeah, agreed, and I think the main, for me, is just communication. DOT, if you're there, you suck. Okay, they communicate terrible.
Yeah.
There's no communication. I mean, you wake up one morning, they're doing your streets, you know, and there's no communication whatsoever. So I think being on that, you can start to push that and find out what we're at.
And let's be honest, we understand as a community the political power the St. Joe Company has. It's much more than the municipality of Mexico Beach. It would be a huge benefit to the St. Joe Company. Gulf County wants it, we want it, and the higher ups at the DOT, they do what they're told from Tallahassee.
Well, we're not the long ranges, I can tell you that. I know City Administrator and I have met in the last couple months, probably 3 or 4 times with Tyndall, Bay County, and us. And I can tell you every time the same topics come up. Is that not true? And they're in the same cloud, that we're in the same gray cloud. They don't have information, and they have very small tidbits that add up to nothing.
Well, let's also make sure that we get Gulf County hooked into some of this, if not all of this, because they've got to get their section completed before our section, because if we build our section, it's not gonna help, because they're all gonna come down.
Well, this is a full DOT project, or at least to my understanding, and they want the whole thing done because they realize it impacts us all.
Yes, but.
And it, you know, 5 years ago, I think back to 5 years ago, I had a gentleman in Port St. Joe make a statement. We were eating dinner, and he said, I've lived here for 38 years. And he said, 5 years ago, the difference in the traffic 5 years ago, he said, the traffic now is like the off-season traffic. The traffic in the off-season is like tourist season used to be. And now it's already a zoo, and it's going to become a parking lot. And they're pushing it. We got lobbyists, St. Joe's got lobbyists. Let's collectively focus our efforts and put that on the top of our to-do list.
Also, not to solve the problem here, but have we engaged, not just Tyndall, not just the county, but our 2 county state reps? Because we've got Gulf and Bay County, both want this solved. So we've got Jason Schoaf, of course, Simon, Griffiths for the rest of the year, and Jay Trumbull. And isn't Mr. Trumbull the president of the Senate next year? So can we leverage all of that?
Yes. Griffin and Trumbull, we can have mobiles for them. I've talked to them both.
And collectively get a small group of you all in a room to say, what are we going to do to make something happen at the legislative level? Because they have to appropriate the money. Once the money's appropriated, DOT will go to work.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Foot to the pedal. Okay, no more, council comments, and closed council comments. The only thing I had was, we introduced the weekly report a couple weeks ago, and I can tell you, people are hitting it because you can see conversations on social media, so they're starting to read it. So, I suggest again, that weekly report gives you everything this city has on it. Use it, ask questions, call in if you have questions, get with the council person, have them drag the questions here, but we want to make sure we're leaving that line of communication open. And there is a lot going on in Mexico Beach to get done here in the next 6 to 8 months, and it's happening, so stay tuned. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I didn't get, before we do, I didn't get an opportunity to welcome Miss Lisa Logan to the council last week, because I wasn't, or the week before, because I wasn't here. And I want to make sure to do that, and I hope you had an opportunity to say something at the table, and welcome yourself.
Everybody knows me. I don't think I need any more introduction. Thank you, appreciate your welcome.
Good deal. All right, with that said, motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
And it's really, everybody knows of you, not knows you.